Just joining us, here's the headline. The UN Security Council approves the Iran nuclear deal. That's a move frustrating lawmakers on the Hill, also taking up the issue today and arguing that the UN vote should come later. The nuclear agreement facing opposition from both sides, but including Republican Senator John Barrasso. He's live with me out of Washington now. Senator, welcome back here to America's Newsroom. You call this administration desperate. You say they will, meaning Iran, get a nuclear weapon. They will be a nuclear power. Given what's on the table, what would you have done?
Well, we had them where we wanted them 2 years ago due to the sanctions that Congress insisted be imposed and the president resisted. And we were at a point where they were at the table and it was in their best interest to negotiate a deal to actually do what the president said he wanted to do, which was eliminate nuclear arms, completely stop Iran from getting a nuclear arm. Now we're going to have Iran with nuclear weapons, as well as, I believe, a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. I met with the Saudi foreign minister the other day. I am convinced that they are going to get nuclear weapons. So I think the president is making that area of the world more unstable as a result of his actions.
So John Kerry is saying, hey, listen, we got to go to the UN first because the other countries who negotiated this deal with us, they have a say too. This is from ABC. Watch.
They have a right to do that. Honestly, it's presumptuous of some people to suspect that France, Russia, China, Germany, Britain ought to do what the Congress tells them to do. They have a right to have a vote.
So with Congress considering this, you're a Republican. I know you've been against this deal for a long time, but I'm hearing from Senator Dianne Feinstein. Ben Cardin from Maryland was on Fox News Sunday yesterday, and they seem dubious right now. Are they going to stay in that category? Or is the administration going to move them toward a yes vote?
I think the president, by doing this end run around Congress, by going to the Security Council of the United Nations before the elected representatives of the American people and having the American people have a say, I think the president is making it even worse for what he's trying to do. I think he has less of a chance. And, you know, he's not even trying to get this approved. He's trying to just avoid it being disapproved. But there are Republicans and Democrats all around this country who have great concerns because the deal is such a bad deal. The president was so desperate for any deal that I believe they made concessions that are much worse than even what the framework had said. This idea of anytime, anywhere inspections have now gone away. It's not 24/7. It's now 24 days later after the request.
Right, but now we're dealing with what's on the table right now, and Secretary Kerry says if Congress says no to this deal now, there will be no restraints left on Iran. No restraints.
Well, Secretary Kerry is going to be at the Foreign Relations Committee on Thursday. I expect him to get a rocky reception, both from Republicans and Democrats. He was there negotiating the deal. He agreed. He had to agree to allow this to go to the UN before coming to the United States. And I think he has a responsibility to stand up and try to defend those actions in front of the United States Senate, in front of Congress, in front of the American people. I talked to Samantha Power the other day. She is the UN ambassador for the United States. And she said the major weakness of this deal is its complexity. People had a right to have time to review this, to look at it. I'll tell you, lawyers are going to love this deal. I read the whole thing. It's very challenging and complicated and complex. And I just think they made a major mistake, and it may cost the president and this administration when they finally come to Congress in terms of their trying to get it approved.
Do you think this administration has boxed Congress in?
Well, I think that the administration has put us in a position where the U.S. is, in terms of our own national security, is less secure, and Iran is more powerful. This administration, in the last days of the deal cutting, agreed to allow, at a point in the future, Russia to sell weapons to Iran that Iran can then use against us. And what are they going to use to buy these weapons? The money that's going to come from the relief of the sanctions. Even the leader of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey, last week said, under no circumstances should we relieve those sanctions and allow Iran to buy ballistic missiles and conventional weapons from Russia. And just the day after that, Secretary Kerry and President Obama ignore the recommendation of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and give in to Russia and Iran and allow them to get those weapons.
One more point here. Secretary Kerry has asked repeatedly on Sunday whether or not anytime, anywhere was on the table. He says not in 4 years' time. So we went back, and he was sitting there with Energy Secretary Ernest Moniz on Bloomberg on April 20th of this year, said we expect to have anywhere, anytime access. Ben Rhodes, April 6th on CNN, you will have anywhere, anytime, 24/7 access as it relates to the nuclear facilities that Iran has. Will that be a question that you have on Thursday with the Secretary?
I am sure that Republicans and Democrats alike are going to ask that question, because that is a complete disconnect from the framework that came out 3 or 4 months ago. So we've had concession after concession all the way up to the deal being made, which is why I'm saying, number one, it was desperation on the part of the administration to give in on things they said they would never give in on. And the reason I say that the president is using scare tactics is he's saying it's this deal or war. And the reality is he's saying that no matter how bad the deal, no matter what the risk of the U.S. in terms of our national security, you have no other choice other than war. And I say that the option is actually a better deal. So I can't see any good reason that we should just go ahead with the president because he says it's this or war. I think it's a false choice.
Starting this week, Congress joins that debate. Senator, thank you for your time and for joining us today. John Barrasso, thank you, Republican from Wyoming.